What happens when commitment and dedication intersect with patriotism and the power of persuasion?
The spirit of South High, that's what happens. 13 on your side's Brent Ashcroft is here to fully tell this long neglected piece of Grand Rapids past in our Michigan life.
We had Adolf Hitler marching through Europe, threatening the Atlantic coast, then Pearl Harbor threatened the Pacific coast. The winds of war were raging. Those on the home front wanted to support those fighting on the front lines. The students at Grand Rapids South High School came up with a way. They thought they bought the bomber that was going to win the war. Their attempt at history became a mystery that would take 72 years to solve. It happened near this small Virginia community, where the Blue Ridge Parkway passes by Mabry's Mill. Beyond the babbling brook, in this field of trees.
We were there right after it hit the ground, before they ever picked anything up.
A warplane went down.
It has been declared an archaeological site.
Some locals remember it happening.
Hearing the airplane go over was what woke me up.
While most were unaware for decades.
A lot of people still don't know the story.
The story started in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
It was the war years.
A rare time when full-time employment collided with extreme deprivation.
Everything was rationed.
The students at Grand Rapids South High School saw an opportunity to help.
I just felt like it was the thing to do.
December 1942, 8th grade civics class.
It was the weekly reader that Mr. Mulder read to the class and told them about the Buy a Bomber program.
Sitting in the back row,
it wouldn't ordinarily be me, but it just happened that way.
Arthur Blackport.
I raised my hand. I says, Mr. Mulder, why can't we do that? And he says, okay.
Blackport and classmate Mel Hartger initiated the campaign.
I never thought it would be something that big.
Juniors David Dutcher and Grace Moyer joined as co-chairs.
And therein started South's involvement.
How could a bunch of kids afford to buy a bomber?
57% of World War II was paid for by Americans buying war bonds and war stamps.
That's how.
People were very willing to give up what they had because the people on the home front wanted to get involved.
Barbara Davidson remembers doing a lot of door knocking.
We talked to all our relatives, all our neighbors.
So did Leonard Stormzand.
People had money, so they all contributed.
In less than 3 months, the students raised $375,000. They had enough to buy a bomber.
I think everybody was kind of proud of it, the fact that we accumulated so much in such a short time.
April 6th, 1943.
We all watched it fly in.
A B-17 bomber landed at Kent County Airport.
It was quite a thing to get that many students together to walk out to the airport and see that plane.
Its name?
Spirit of South High.
Painted prominently on the fuselage.
These are kids, their hearts and souls are wrapped up in what they had accomplished. They really believed that this bomber was going to be the difference in the war.
Nobody knew what happened to it.
47 years would pass. In 1990, South High student Robert Tuffelmeyer was tired of not knowing.
So he called in the big guy, and the big guy for South High School alums is Gerald R. Ford.
Gerald Ford was a 1931 graduate of South High.
He was a very loyal alum.
The president got the Department of Defense on it.
The bomber was used for training, so it never went to war. It never fought a battle.
October 1st, 1944.
It had taken off from Lockbourne Air Force Base. They were doing a night vision training. They were to fly from Columbus to Maxwell Air Force Base in Montgomery, Alabama.
On its way back, the pilot got lost in the fog.
He had no option but to fly around till he ran out of gas and then ditch the plane.
All 6 members bailed and survived.
It crashed in Meadows of Dan, Virginia.
In this field of trees. To this day, pieces of the plane are still being found.
Isn't this fun?
And they have the tail number.
October 1st, 2018.
What better day than the 74th anniversary of the crash?
South High alumni from near and far.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Gathered at that Virginia field.
It's really
a thrill to be here at this moment.
to help dedicate the crash site,
They were shocked to learn that they had crashed in Meadows of Dan.
revealing more than just a monument. They showed the spirit of South High remains strong. And the memory of the bomber that once bore the same name, thanks to the efforts of the students who bought it,
It was something for a high school to do that.
will never be forgotten.
The alumni at South are amazing.
Grand Rapids South High School closed for good in 1968. 50 years later, former teachers, coaches, and alumni still gather monthly at various Grand Rapids locations to reminisce. That goes to show the spirit of South High may have started out as a campaign to buy a plane, but it evolved into something that refuses to fade. If you know of a story that would make for a great feature on Our Michigan Life, send a detailed email to life@wzzm13.com. We will be sure to follow up on that. Guys.
That's amazing. That could be a movie.
It could.
Yeah.
An incredible story. This is the first I've ever heard this story.
Same here.
All
That's
these
cool.
years I've been here.
Thank you, Brent.